Pacing and leading is a topic that I hear in a lot of trainings, primarily kind of like neurolinguistic programming trainings. But this is an important aspect that you'll find quite prevalent in the work of Dr. Milton Erickson. So, Ericksonian strategic therapy focuses a little bit on pacing and leading. And by that, I mean that we seek a connection, as we talked about in a previous video with a client, but oftentimes by pacing where they are. So if a client is someone who is talking a certain pace, we might not want to overrun that person, talk faster, so much faster they are that we lose that bit of connection. Or at the same time, we might not want to talk too slowly unless you're doing a hypnotic command or induction. But we want to kind of meet the client where they are. So maybe we'll alternate our pacing of our words, our verbal cues to them. If they're a very energetic person, maybe we can allow ourselves to be a little more energetic. Not that we're mocking or trying to do exactly what the person's doing, but just kind of step into that person's state. Because when we do that, there tends to be a bit of commonality at the unconscious level. One of my hypnosis teachers who unfortunately passed away, and I want to recognize he really helped introduce me into the work of Erickson, a guy named Wesley Anderson, did the thing he called, and he might have gotten this from Dave Dobson, who he trained with, called an unconscious hello. And it's when he was talking to a client when they first meet, when the client would blink their eyes, he would try to pace his blink with them. So people blink at certain times, others blink slower. And so he would just, by listening to them, smiling and interacting with them, just kind of unconsciously saying hello, pacing that person that way. It could be with the breathing, to where if they're shallow breathers, maybe you need to do a little shallow breath with them, kind of noticing that. So once we have a good pacing going on, then at a certain point, maybe we need to, since rapport and connection is hopefully there, start to take them in a different direction for the therapy. So if they're shallow breathing, you can then start to slow your breathing down and just notice and paying attention to your client. Maybe their breathing starts to shallow. Maybe when you blink, they blink. These are little subtle things just to give you an idea of where the rapport is going, where the therapy is going. Because again, the therapy, as we've talked about, is this center on this connection between therapist and clients. So paying attention to those cues are really important. Using our observation skills. I don't think enough therapists really focus on their clients, are too busy in their own heads. Paying attention to subtle cues like the blinking, like how they sit, where one shoulder's higher than another. Just paying attention, because again, that helps us become interested in our client. I remember reading one of Dr. Erickson's inductions, and I think it was Ernest Rossi who asked him, Dr. Erickson, how did you know right when she went into that relaxed trance state? Because I couldn't tell. And Erickson just said, I noticed because the pulse in her ankle started to slow down. So that's that intense, deep level of observation, taking everything in. And he then would working up their pacing and then leading. And then that gave him the cues. So this isn't, I want to point this out here, this isn't a manipulative thing to, make people do things. This is how so we can quickly get into that state of connection with a person and pace them, and then maybe they need to be helped a little bit, led to maybe slow down or speed up. But when that connection's made, it helps that we pay attention to it, and those subtle cues that a lot of times just people don't notice. I've started doing this thing where I'll notice people just in general when I'm watching them walk. Where does their weight lie when they walk? One side of the body may go lower than the other. What's the pace that they walk? I even do this, I shouldn't say this, but I do this out when I'm in crowds sometimes. Someone in front of me who I don't know how they're walking, I'll start to kind of pace their way of walking. So maybe they take shorter steps, longer, maybe their weight's further back. And it's really fascinating that after just a minute of doing that, if they make sure they don't catch you, that you can sense a lot of information about that person. And it gives you a little flexibility in your body. So, anyway, pacing and leading, just something to, I think, really pay attention to. And we're talking about pacing and leading later on in our series. We're talking about, hypnotic inductions and things like that. But I think when we start to really pay attention, really neat things come out for us to play with.